competition bike in front of us at the moment, the Warhead Racing. Troy Thompson on a Suzuki Hayabusa in the Aeroflow lane, up against Michael Hollister on the psychedelic Kawasaki ZX14 for Bespoke Customs, Perth Motorcycles Depot and Pace Motorsport.
Both of these bikes were tuned by Brett Godina at Pace Motorsport. You'll see him on the turbocharged Honda at another event later on this season. But for now, we know that both of these bikes are in excess of 500 horsepower.
That is amazing. I haven't produced that sort of horsepower on much bigger engines, I tell you that. Troy Thompson for the Warhead Racing. He's the man with always the fruity smelling fuels in the pit paddock. Big lean over. His elbow finally goes down towards his knee, and we are racing both sides of the track. A 000 perfect reaction time for Troy Thompson. And wow. And a 775, 4/10 under the index.
Troy Thompson, well, he went half a second under in his first qualifier. He's just gone 4/10 under with the changing conditions. Hollister out with an 094 light, and he ran through 0.2 of a second under. Comp bike, you have to be able to give that national index a nudge.
Yes.
If you want to be able to make it through to the final for the night. We move on now. Gordon Crawford on the Kawasaki ZX12 up against Matty Arnold on the Hayabusa.
A Secret Harbour fella. We are on a bump spot tonight, so one of these bikes won't get to play in major competition at the moment. That's Phil Patton. I don't think that's going to hang around, but neither is Gordon Crawford. First big limiter between first and second gear. Not a perfect flow there for Gordon T. Crawford. Runs a 918, fairly non-representative. And for Matt, it was a red light before the bike had even moved.
Disappointing to see, but he'll go through, and we won't be able to record any times on that one. A bit of father-son rivalry about to go down. Rob Wasley up against Will Wasley. Now, we'd normally see Will Wasley cutting laps around Wanneroo Raceway, carco.com.au Raceway up in the town's north. He is now on his 600cc Yamaha up against the old man's ZX10.
I love those 600s. They scream, don't they?
What's happening with Will on the line is because these 600s don't make a big amount of torque, you've got to have them up high in the RPM. It makes that launch very, very tricky. You're on a knife edge. 10:32 as Will Wasley goes within 0.04 of the D Street Bike record. Sorry, the index rather. Rob Wasley goes 0.128 under the B Street Bike index. Runs a 9:54 at 237 Ks. Will Wasley 0.05 light. He'll be happy with that one, especially when the old man's over a 10th.
Yeah, great father-son battle has just been accomplished as we turn our attention to Wayne Patterson for the Ducati Bunbury and Silkaline Oils entry in the Rare Spares Osborne Park lane. He's up against David Waters on the
on the ZX10.
Yeah, ZX10. Yep. And a little bit of wheel up there for a moment of David Waters as we are playing with boost for Pato. It's gone a little bit away over the mid-track. David Waters has gone around him over the top, and David gets there with a 10-1-2. To the other end of the stripe first. Very nicely done. Not quite right for Wayne Pato.
Issues for Pato. He does have a new transmission in that bike, and it's still throwing up some curveballs as we move on to our next matchup. Daniel Natalotto on the ZX10 up against Wayne Gummow. He's riding the ZX14. Don't forget, head on over to the Quarter Mile Club. Up on the top step, $25 gets you in as Natalotto out super hard with a .019 light. That is going to be tough to beat. 1.61 to the 60-foot on the short wheelbase Kawasaki, and he will come through 0.494 of a second under his B Street Bike Index, 9.17 at 251 Ks. Wayne Gummow with a 989 goes to within a half a second. He is not going to be doing himself any favours with that one.
Rebecca Archer now coming out for A Street Bike in the Rare Spares Osborne Park lane, and she's up against Ryan Learmont with one of my favourite bikes here this weekend. It's a pro stock motorcycle. We are talking 1,872 cubic centimetres of naturally aspirated all screaming goodness, revving it to 9,800, 10,000 plus. That is exactly where we want to hear these bikes going at. He's chasing a 774 pro stock motorcycle index. That is tough. but he's currently positioned number 5. Can he better it on this pass? Wow, that is some bunny hopping. Man, the front tyre hit the deck 4 or 5 times before it cut a groove and goes end-to-end with an 8.22. Still fairly non-representative of what that is capable of, but almost replay-worthy for the serious fork action that he had going on for the first 200-footer racetrack.
We are in Friday Sea-Doo and Can-Am Comp Bike here at the 52nd Annual Western Nationals. Ross Smith has had an up and down season. We recently replaced some electrical componentry in there. We saw him have, I think it was about 2, potentially 3 events where that thing wasn't making finals, and that's become a fixture. Ross Smith in the finals on the Brox Performance Hayabusa. Turns out a fuel pump relay that was about 15 years old.
That's reliable.
Was the issue. They've gone and they've upgraded the fuel system. I know we recently kitted him out with a new stator winding because it wasn't charging the battery either. So
wow.
Now,
couple of gremlins.
Everything A-okay.
Let's have a check against Phil Patton, the man who's currently outside the bump. He needs to get in the game by producing a decent enough pass, and this one looks like it may just do it. Ross Smith is going to get there first with an 8.14, but the faster time goes to the top of the pops. Phil Patton goes from outside the bump to the number 1 qualifier.
Yeah, Phil wasn't really too concerned leading into this second qualifier. They have just recently put fresh injectors into that. Looking at the data, everything was running a little bit rich, so that first qualifier was a half-track pass. He rolled off, goes straight to the top of the charts, going over a half a second under that index. Joe Curry is here in your rare spares lane on the Destroyer. Blair Pennington has made his way all the way over from Queensland. He is on a borrowed bike. I actually found out that Blair Pennington actually used to own my bike that I race.
Oh, that's a beautiful part of the story. And Joe Corey should be the fella who takes out the championship by all chances on that beautiful Harley-Davidson Destroyer. He runs a 9.100, but Blair Pennington gets there with a 9.19. That's better in the qualification order, and good on Blair for coming all the way from Queensland. That completes and concludes Competition Motorcycle for their qualification, and we return to 4-wheel